Congresswomen Zoe Lofgren, Demings, and Sylvia Garcia are making history. The first women to serve as presidential impeachment managers.
So let's drill down on how. How the president abused the power of his office.
President Trump did not just break the law, he jeopardized our national's security.
We will now walk through the president's abuse of power, the corrupt object of his scheme.
But with the country bitterly divided over impeachment, and so far Senate Republicans in lockstep with President Trump, they're facing an uphill battle.
Are you talking to anyone specifically as you prepare for these days on the Senate floor?
I'm looking at the senators and trying to gauge whether they're engaged. And it's a lot of material. I want to make sure that what we're saying is not only accurate and true, but we've made it accessible to them, because it's hard to sit there for so many hours.
I would expect them to remember the first oath that they took, and certainly the oath to do impartial justice. I'm also talking to the American people, because this moment is truly about the American people.
The Senate does still seem poised to acquit the president.
I think it's important that we emphasize that he's been impeached. That is done. He can't erase that. He will always be an impeached president. If they don't convict and they don't decide to remove, then the public will see that it was rigged, that it wasn't fair.
They're three of a 7-member team prosecuting the president on behalf of the House, chosen by Speaker Nancy Pelosi for their law enforcement and legal experience.
She came to me and she said, "You used to be a judge, right?" And I said, "Yes." And she said, "I think we may need you."
You know, as an officer, I really cared about who my backup was and if they were up to the task. And I consider these two women as my backup, and they're up to the task.
So this is a photo of the impeachment managers in the last case, and I know Congresswoman Lofgren, you were here for it.
Yep.
What's your reaction to seeing just how different it looks?
Well, a whole room of old white guys, and who I serve with. Now, I'm 4 old white guys. My husband is one. But I do think it's nice that we have really a group that looks like America, that's over there standing up for our Constitution.
So a poll released this week showed that 59% of women say that the president should be removed from office, but just 42% of men say the same. What's with the difference?
Women are smarter than men.
Women are paying more attention.
Not that men don't care, but women are thinking about their children and their grandchildren and what kind of world are they going to have.